In today's video, I am going to show you how to build your own raised garden boxes. These sell for about $300 a box, but you can make them on your own for $100.
For this project, I chose to do 2x6s. There's all sorts of options you can get at the lumber store. You could do 2x8s, 2x10s, whatever floats your boat. It does need to be at least 12 inches deep for most garden boxes. If you're going to grow any type of herb and any type of root vegetables, you need to go at least 18. And so I'm not going to cut the 2x6 by 8. Those are going to stay the same. And then I cut the ends to 3.5 feet. And then this is a 4x4, which is going to reinforce the corners that we are going to hook together. And I did cut those. Judge me, they don't look great, but this doesn't have to be perfect.
I used my miter saw in order to cut the pieces of wood. You could also use a table saw or a hand saw as well. I will say my miter saw is probably my favorite tool. I got it in order to start doing accent walls in my house, and I use it all the time. Once you have your boards cut, I would lay them out on a flat surface, and I would make sure that the ones that you did have to cut are perfectly even. You're going to want to start on the ends, so I started by building out the corners. The reason I set the 4x4s on the 2x6s was so that I could measure it out perfectly as to how I wanted the corner to be, and then secure it with brad nails so I could put all 3 pieces in together before securing them with the wood screws. I'd recommend using a wood screw starter bit. This allows your screw to go into the wood easier, and it also makes it completely flush instead of the head of the screw sticking out. Now that you have your ends built, they should stand right up and you can start to place your long pieces. I did the same thing on all of these pieces where I would secure it with a brad nailer, go in then with the wood screw starter bit, and then finish off with the screw to stabilize it. Once you have your bottom boards secured, it might be a little bit more difficult to place the second layer. This would also probably be easier if you had a second person helping you, but since I was by myself, I had to give it a little bit of a nudge to get that second layer in. But it should fit perfectly once you get it straightened out. Then you just continue placing each board and securing them until you are all the way done. Usually projects take me a lot longer than I think they're going to, but this is one that actually is quick, so you can do this in an afternoon. In order for your garden boxes to last as long as possible, you're going to want to seal the inside and the outside. I am all into that non-toxic life. That's the whole reason that I want to grow my own food and build these garden boxes. So I found a non-toxic sealer that is specifically created for garden boxes, because if you use any type of wood sealer, that is eventually going to seep into the soil and into the food you're growing. I'll put that product in the notes below. This isn't sponsored. It's just the only one I could find that wasn't toxic.
Okay, you've got your garden boxes built. Now, the question is, how are you going to fill this? Because this is a lot larger than I thought it was going to be. So, if I had to pay to put soil in this, it would cost a lot of money. So, I'm going to show you, based on my research, what I'm going to fill my garden box with.
Do not place a weed guard at the bottom of your box. That will prevent the roots from going all the way down. You can place chicken wire though, and that will help prevent any gophers or rabbits that can burrow up or take your food. For your first layer, you can use pieces of wood. A couple years ago, we trimmed up our trees and we cut it down into firewood, and that has been sitting for the last couple of years, and we were able to use that for the bottom layer of the garden box. This layer can be around 40% of your garden box, which is going to be a huge portion of it. Now I will say that I read that not all trees should be used for this, so look into that depending on what you're planning on using. This is what my first layer ended up looking like. I think I could have gone a little deeper, but I felt like that was enough. For your next layer, you can use leaves, pine cones, grass clippings, pretty much anything that is organically around your yard and you're already cleaning up in the spring. Once I dumped a layer on top, I made sure to kind of bring my rake over it, and that helped push some of those leaves, pine cones, etc. down into the pieces of wood. Okay, I thought this was kind of funny. For the next layer, you can use anything that is in your fridge that's bad, considering it's like fruits and vegetables, etc. So I had some old carrots, some sweet potatoes, etc. So just might as well throw them in the garden box instead of the waste. Your next layer is going to be manure. And you can get a little creative with this. You can either go to a garden store and you can buy it like I did, or you can search your Facebook classifieds pages, and oftentimes there are dairy farmers or different farmers that have manure you can come and get for free. You can do this with a truck. I thought about doing it in buckets in the back of my Jeep and just ultimately decided to go buy some. But if you're wanting to save costs, then I would definitely look at your local farmers. For my next layers, I alternated between peat moss and garden soil. The peat moss keeps some air within the soil so that it doesn't compact so much. And one package of the peat moss went a long ways. This is also when, if you have homemade compost, or you can buy compost as well, that you can use that. You want to fill it all the way to the top because there will be some settling. And once you're done, it is time to plant. This year, since I got a late start, I cheated and I went to the garden store and bought the plants already grown, except for my carrots. Next year, I'm hoping to do my own seedlings. And if you're new to gardening like me, something else that I learned was to use worm castings when planting. There's so much more to gardening than I ever expected, but I am excited to start this summer. I hope this video was helpful for you and that you go out and build your garden boxes and start growing your own food.